and welcome to the He Doesn't Want a Podcast, sponsored by Learners Ross Driving School and Drumbo Park Racecourse. Today I am here with the Crumlin Star gaffer, Paul Chew Trainor. Chew, how are you, mate? You keeping well?
Very well, Gary. Present time, yes, see, it's a wee bit hard, but here, we're getting on. We're getting on.
Yeah. I was talking to you before we were recording there, just saying you're looking forward to getting back playing. You've entered your first 10 seconds in the tournament we've organised. Are you looking forward to getting some sort of competitive football back?
Absolutely, Gary. Once I heard a couple of weeks ago about the competition, a couple of boys did phone me up, says, "Cheer, there's a competition coming up." But when I did look at it and the way it's being run and things like that, and the amount of people here, substitutes and things like that, and the quality of the competition has been unreal. So it shows you, Gary, that the amount of people after the year's break there, which was nobody's fault, here can't wait to get back playing,
Yeah, I know it's something that, like I said, I just wanted to kind of take a bird by the horns and get running, and I've been surprised at the amount of teams who have been so keen to get back as well. I sort of thought that a lot of people were just thinking, we'll just give it the August, but it just goes to show that how much we've all missed football, and it's been a year now since I last all played a competitive game.
Well, we played one competitive game this year.
That's right.
Yeah, we played Bangor Amateurs in Steel Cup, so we did, and that's the only competitive game we played all year. In fact, I think we had 4 or 5 different pre-seasons, like everybody else during the summer. Last summer, you played 5 or 6 pre-season games. You got the boys up to a certain amount of fitness, and then we had to let it go because the dates changed. It's been a really, really strange year, but it is what it is. And look, it's never, hopefully it'll never come around again. Well, most definitely not my lifetime anyway. You're a hell of a lot younger than me, so you are.
Probably not as much as you think. What I want to do now, Chew, is I want to ask you a wee bit about your career. First of all, your playing career. Where did you start off?
Here, this will take an hour. This will take an hour. Where did I start off? I started off at I played for the Whites when I was about 16, Gary, so I did.
Yeah.
I signed for the Whites for Gibby McKenzie at youth level, so I did. There was a couple of lads from around the Ardoyne area. My younger brother, Liam McNeil, and Eamon Hawkins was an established Irish League player and at Distillery at the time. So we drew up that way, And then, I was always back to the Star and back to an Irish League club. And then I played for the Star. I went to Levy United because there was a lot of the Ardoyne ones went over to Levy United, so they did at one stage. And I went 2A, and I went 2A. I was only about 17 or 18 years of age. They had a smashing side, so they had, and enjoyed it so much. And then I ended up, I went back to the Star, and then I ended up, my father played for Drogheda, so he did, Gary, so he did, right? So I ended up, I signed for Drogheda down the south. And I had a good season and a half up there. Came back up again, signed for the Whites again under Billy Hamilton.
Yeah.
A year, 2 years there. And then I moved till I got to move back to the Star. Everything was back to the Star, Gary. That was my club. I came from Ardoyne. That was the club all the time. Back to the Star. A wee bit like Joe Gormley, a wee bit, just not as good as him. And I got a wee bit of a break. Roy Coyle was the manager at Derry City.
Yeah.
He was, and through a guy called Sammy Watson. He signed a couple of lads from Dublin. So he did a lad called Mark Ennis, and they paid major dough for him. They paid 30 or 40,000 quid for him. But he was a wee small lad, so he was, Gary. He was a finisher. The previous year, he'd win the league with St. Pat's, and he scored 35 to 40 goals. I can't remember at the time, but he needed a bit of a minder.
Yeah.
And lo and behold,
you were the man.
Sammy Coyle got on to me, and he says, "I want you to get fit," and I got fit, And I had 2 great years down there. I got fit and I enjoyed playing for a big, massive club at the time. You know, it was in the 90s. Missed maybe where they were winning major trophies. But really, really enjoyed it. And probably, probably the 2 good years up there, Gary. You know, you were playing against big lads, which were all 6'2", 6'3". You know, when I
Yeah.
played centre forward at the time, and the plan was that I had to take the weight off the young lad to score all the goals. But here, it didn't end up for the young lad, so it didn't. It just didn't work out for him. So, but then I came back down the road again. I no, sorry, I stayed up that direction. I was signed for Finn Harps.
Right.
So I did under Tony McGarry. I was a wee bit of a nomad. So it was Gary at the prep, and everything was, it was back to the Star, playing in the Buncrana tournaments and playing in various different things. I ended up, I was at Larne for about a year, no, about 8 months. And then I found my feet, Gary, eventually. I signed for Drogheda again after that, and I found my feet at Chimney Corner under Lawrence Stitt.
Right.
So we did. We had a hell of a good side up there for about 2 or 3 years. Stitty was the manager, and Patsy Hennessy, the school teacher in St Thomas's, here, he was the assistant manager, and we had a hell of a good side. And the majority of the boys were all ex-Cliftonville players, so they were.
Yeah.
You know, Kieran Lochran, Gavin McChrystal, all that here, a hell of a good side. And we win the Intermediate Cup, we win the Steel Cup, and we win the B Division.
Yeah.
In 2 years, so we did. So after that, I played till I was about 35, 34, 35, come back to Crumlin Star, come back. I ended up getting a job at Moyola. Tommy Gowdy was the manager at Moyola, and he says to him, big man, I need a centre half. He says, me, Tommy, I'm 35, 30, I'm done. He says, big man, I've a lot of kids here. So anyway, went up the road, Gary, to tell you, and I enjoyed it so much playing here, a smashing club, Moyola.
Yeah.
Smashing people about it, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. It didn't work out for wee Tommy, and eventually, you know, the job came up, and Moyola says to me, do you fancy taking over the job? I got the job for about a year and a half, 2 years, and I brought 5 or 6 lads from Cliftonville up with me, Gary, so I did.
Yeah.
I ended up winning a trophy with them, and they were over the moon. But anyway, you know, the Belfast thing, sort of way drifts away, and they want their local players playing, and I just didn't think they were good enough at the time, you know. But I came back down the road again, and I ended up, Lawrence Stitt got the Cliftonville job. So he did. Marty Quinn was there, and then Lawrence got the job after that. Him and Mal Donaghy. And he says to me, big man, do you fancy coming down doing a bit of coaching with me? He's been had a problem here. It was keeping me eye in. I knew I wasn't going to play too much more, Gary, so I wasn't.
Yeah.
It was my local club around the area, and here it was a big privilege for you being asked to coach it down at Cliftonville. So me and Tommy Breslin and Paul McGurnigan here, who played, we all played, was steady up at Chimney Corner. Sort of we were looking after the reserves. So it did, and enjoyed myself thoroughly. We got into the Steel Cup final, and the Glens beat us, I think they beat us in extra time that year, so they did. So, you know, I ended up playing for Cliftonville. I made my debut at 37 years of age at Cliftonville in Europe.
Right.
So I did, in the Intertoto in Moldova. Something had happened. We were training that week, and Mickey Collins had work commitments or something like that, and he couldn't go. And they were stuck for centre half. Cut a long story short, Steady came in and Mal came in and he says, big man, do you fancy going to Moldova? I thought they were pulling away, Gary, to tell you the truth, at 37 years of age. So anyway, had to go and get my passport sorted out, and went to Moldova. We were beat 1-0. Mickey Donnelly to this day still blames me and getting the penalty away. But in the debut, 37 years of age at Cliftonville, came back, and they beat us in extra time, so they did. On the return, so they did. Chris Ganell scored, so he did. So I played twice for Cliftonville, and made my debut in Europe. I'm playing the Premiership the following Saturday, and then I went back to coaching again. So from Cliftonville, I went to Miola, sorry, after that. And then Eddie Patterson got the Cliftonville job, and me and Eddie's the best of mates, so we are.
Yeah.
And Eddie got the Cliftonville job, and I went up, me and Tommy, and that's where I started Cliftonville coaching.
You're coaching.
So we did coaching with a great couple of years. We improved them big time, and then Eddie moved on, and Tommy got the job, and then Eddie got the Glentoran job, and I ended up at Glentoran for 3 great years. So I had,
Yeah. Won the Irish Cup at Glentoran, didn't you, as well?
Won 2 Irish Cups.
Won 2 Irish Cups, sorry.
Get the Reds, the year robbed his level. Here, didn't go down too well on Ardoyne. Had to stay out of Ardoyne for weeks.
But before we go on to your coaching career in detail, because you've had such a good playing career as well, I think.
Yeah.
It's one of those things as well where you see a lot of players. You said you were a bit of a nomad, but it can be when you're trying to test yourself that higher level, you're probably just trying to find your feet a wee bit at different clubs, and then you're going from here to there, and then like you said, you went up to Derry and then Finn Harps, but the travelling's involved, and there's a lot of things involved in it where you maybe just don't settle at a club when you're pushing yourself to try and play at the highest level. Do you think?
It was a great feeling playing for Derry City in front of 7,000 and 8,000 people. Yeah. So it was Gary, here. I thought I'd signed at Derry for Coiler at 29 years of age, and I thought, I was never going to get to that level, to be honest. I knew, I had the ability, but I was a wee bit of a, well, let's say, a bit of a cowboy on the park, and it took me till the later stages of my career for the penny to drop,
Yeah.
So when it did, I knew I had the ability, and and I just needed to get that wee break, and I did get the break, but it was from 29, 30 onwards, Gary, where where I was playing for such, playing side of it, where I was playing for good clubs, so it was. But I must say, in my playing side of it, the most, I was consistent. I got Player of the Year a couple of years in a row. Was playing for Chimney Corner. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic club. So it was, and we had some great times up there. And it was, this very much reminds me the Chimney Corner of Crumlin Star now, what I'm managing.
Yeah. The Chimney Corner said that the end, like you said, just won the B Division, Steel Cup, was the Intermediate Cup as well. Is that where you started to really enjoy your football then? Was that the first time you really started to enjoy playing?
I was settled within myself, Gary, so it was, I was living in Glengormy, Chimney Corner was just up the road, and I was telling my guys, who wanted to play for Chimney Corner, who wanted to play for Lawrence Stitt, and we had it together, and we knew, there was teams paying a lot of money out at that time, and we knew we had the handle on them, and it was great having that feeling then. And that, obviously you're going to ask me later on about Crumlin, and that's, the Crumlin Star reminds me as a player at Chimney Corner, sort of way the same mold,
It's a camaraderie, I suppose. You create the change room. It's players and coaches together create that, really. To win trophies, don't they?
Unreal, Gary. So it is unreal. So it was, it was the best footballing team I ever had. Up at Chimney Corner as a player.
When you went to Moyola, you said you were playing, but you were also doing a bit of coaching. Was there a period where you sort of thought, I want to stop playing and I want to start coaching, or you just weren't really sure if you wanted to hang your boots up fully?
Gary, I never wanted to stop playing. I still get them, and they take the mickey out of me every weekend. I love getting in among them, and the brain wants to do it here. I know it here. But see, by the time it gets from there to there, these wee lads are just too quick for me now. I played, I came back, and after the Moyola job, I came back and I played for the Star. Eamon Hawkins was the manager, so he was, and he says, "Big money, you fancy giving us a hand?" I says, "Eamon, I still fancy myself as a bit of a player." And I played, I think, Gary, until I was 41, 42. But here, it was killing me on a Monday and a Tuesday, so it just for a long years. And he just says to me, "Paul, you're going to have to pack it in, But here, nothing beats playing."
I know. And the fact that you were in the twilight of your career, 37, playing in Europe is some achievement. So it is for anybody to play in Europe, but to do it in the twilight of your career, 37, when you thought you were
Unreal.
basically done.
I thought the boys are coming in to take a mickey out of me. Steady state. You need to have you got your passport ready. And it was a whole rush, so it was. It was a whole rush. He came in the Tuesday after. He phoned me the Monday morning. He says, "We've problems here." Here's me. What's the problem? He says, "You might have to go to Moldova." Here's me steady. Get yourself home. Moldova. I'm 37. What do you want me to do? I thought I was going to just to give a bit of a hand. He says, "No,
Yeah.
you know what? You play." Here's me steady. Behave yourself. I can't play at 37. And I remember the game so well, Gary. Here, after I get through, here, we'll get through Heathrow, we'll get through. We ended up here, it was like planes, trains, and automobiles going over to Moldova at that time, so it was. And I remember sitting on the plane going over. And if you ever see a film where you go into the back of the plane, we changed our flight at Berlin or something, so we did, Gary. And I looked over and I seen this plane sitting here and sure, Christ, this is an our plane. North 3 hours. And that was the plane. And I'm sitting in Steady's sitting in front of me. And I says, "Lord, I'm not getting on that thing. No way am I getting on that plane." You imagine an old plane landing on a farm and the ducks come down there and down it and everything. That's just the plane we're getting on. So we get on the plane and I said, "Lawrence, I need a glass of wine or something to just settle me down." So we ended up, I think the committee let us have a glass or two of wine on the way over. So we had Gary, a sort of way just knocked us over. Because there was a lot of young lads in the team, the likes of Jordy McMullen and Ronan Skinnell, Connor Downey, all them boys. And I was supposed to be the coach, and I was a hell of a lot older than them boys. And I'm supposed to be, right, I'm babysitting you boys, but I'm shitting myself. So it was on the plane. But here, we went over, we done very, very well for ourselves. We were beat 1-0 and Danny still blasted me. But that was my Cliftonville playing career.
Would that be the highlight of your career in general, or is there one highlight that sticks out? Maybe winning
as a player?
As a player?
Playing for Derry City was unreal. So it was, Gary. Here, you see it, 9,000 people up at the Brandywell, and then you're going down to Cork, and you flew down to Cork, which made you feel very, very special. Here, and you can down to 12 o'clock kickoff down at Cork, where it'd be at Turner's Cross where they did play, or else out of Bishopstown when they did play out, they moved out of Cork. And there's 3,000 or 4,000 people travelled all night down on their what way they get down, and they're travelling down. And you just went out and you seen the Derry City support, you say to yourself, this is unreal. Yeah. These people have given up their whole weekends to watch me playing football, and what a lift that was. Fantastic.
Yeah, and like you said, the support, but also the fact they were being treated so well professionally as well.
You're like a full-time footballer, Gary. The only thing was the novelty sort of way, wore off me. You were up that road, and you knew you'd be twisting, turning the Glentoran, passing it, Dungiven. You knew it was 18 May. But here, it was a privilege to play for Derry City. It was a great time. So it was, and I really, really enjoyed playing under Roy Coyle. And I got to know Roy Coyle really well after that because he played with my father, so he did.
Right.
And he sort of made me and him get on very, very well with him. I get on very, very because of my father.
Yeah.
So
do you have any regrets from your playing career at all? Do you or?
Regrets, Gary. My discipline's record, to be honest, with people wasn't the greatest, but here the penny did drop at 30 years of age, 29 years of age, and I had 10 great years, and at the present minute it's still continuing,
Yeah.
And the morning I get up and I haven't got a feeling for football today, I'm going to pack it in, but it's still here, and the hunger's still here. And
yeah.
Well, obviously you're going to ask me questions about Crumlin Star and the amateur league and things like that, so we're going to move,
See on your time moving into coaching with Cliftonville, obviously the success with Cliftonville and then on to Glentoran as well, with Eddie Patterson as well. When you were coaching there, Did you see a change from when you were playing, maybe, or your early days coaching Irish League? That I feel now that the Irish League is getting a lot more professional and the standards improving every year. Have you noticed a change in that?
100% right, absolutely. My era was a wee bit rough, I'm 57, it was a wee bit, you just win and you train Tuesday and Thursday. Now these boys are hitting the full-time football, so they are. But even then, you went to Cliftonville and Patterson brought in, he, everything, the details. So he did. He brought Cliftonville to an R level, and then Tommy came about, and obviously, he won major trophies with here. That's probably the most successful time Cliftonville's ever had in their lifespan, But
yeah.
It was great work, but they had a wonderful lot of players then. So they had the two Skinnells, they had Connor Downey, then boys who came about, and Rory Donnelly, Jordy McMullen, unreal. So it was. Here it was really, really enjoyable watching good footballers train, and it was enjoyable working with them every Tuesday and Thursday night. So it was, and now it's going full time. So it is Alexia Larn, so it is. Gary and the Glentorans and the Linfields are going that way at the present minute, so it is. But here, it would be here. What I would do to give 30 years back off and you here to get back here full-time football. What
an opportunity.
Getting up and going to work every day instead of going into driving the accounts. Unreal.
Yeah, and then your time at Glentoran, you did 3 years. You and Eddie at Glentoran. Was it hard leaving Cliftonville, or was it an easy decision when you knew that you were going to be working with Eddie?
Obviously, here things move on, and here we'll go mutual consent. Or everyone it was, Eddie moved on. Me and Eddie's, thick as thieves. So we are, we still are at present. Like, we were out having a few beers yesterday. It was around. He goes around the art house, I go around to his place. In fact, he still gives me a wee hand and sort of wee coaching. I bring him up every 6 or 7 weeks, and he comes up to the club and he gives us a hand, But going to Glentoran, it was, I tell you what, Gary, it was unreal. It was unreal. And they were going through a really, really hard time financially, It was really, really hard. So it was, we had to cut the budget, and we had to cut this, and we had to cut that. And the quality of player they had, it was fantastic. But on your original question of leaving Cliftonville, I had hurt me leaving Cliftonville, because Cliftonville was in my heart. I'm a North Belfast, Monaco, Mardoin, and that was my local Irish League club. It was hard. So it was. And then the way Tommy came and moved it to another level, to be honest, with winning the leagues, and you're playing your Celtics and your European ventures, and winning whatever, they did an unreal 3 or 4 years under Tommy. But at my insight, people who beg to differ with me was, and he had started that plan, and Tommy came about, and here Tommy was always there anyway, but he took it till the next level. So we went to Glentoran, got into Europe once, I think, end up in Iceland, and then the day the Reds were to win the treble, lo and behold, Glentoran, we beat them in extra time that day.
Yeah, that's right.
So we did. The Reds went 1-0 up, but I knew at half time the Reds, Gary, were out on their feet. Obviously, the boys had a long, hard season. Joe Conway just hit the post. He was our days in here. I had just only had funny feelings, and we came out in the second half, and young General Hanlon was outstanding for us. We brought him on at half time here, and he was outstanding. He played wide in the right. And it was a strange feeling. So it was, you're stopping Cliftonville from doing the travel, but here, what a day it was for the Glensmen,
Yeah, and then it's the way you said as well, your budget was cut out to Glentoran, so to go and win trophies with that in the background as well it's such an achievement.
I don't want to really go into details about budgets and what players would do here, but Gary, it was unreal. We had to cut the budget right down to the bone, and we lost Jimmy Gallagher, we lost Andy Waterworth, we lost Stevie Carson, we lost Richard Clark. We lost major players, and we still got it round to compete the following season and things like that, you know. Just once when the Irish Cup that year, that's when Andy went to the Blues and Richard Clark went to Crusaders and Stevie Carson, I think, went to America. So it was, they were major players, and then we sort of had to regroup again, and then Eddie had to move. He moved on again after that. He had a bit of fallout with the chairman, and he moved on again, and I was there for a while. I didn't particularly, you know, it wasn't the same without my mate there, you know, sort of thing, you know. And me and the two Lynches, they were with us at the two boys at Lauren, Tiernan, and Seamus. They were with us at Glentoran through the war, and we were there for a couple of months, and it didn't really suit me. Or nothing against Alan Kernan. Alan Kernan's a smicing fella, played across the water and blah, 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 but it just didn't suit me. And I ended up, well, you're going to ask the question how they ended up at Crumlin Star.
That's how it happened then.
That's how it happened. So it was, you know.
Yeah. At that point then, you've been coaching, you've been working under people, and were you itching to try and take a club, especially so close to your heart, Crumlin Star, but take a club by yourself and be the main man? Was that something you were looking forward to doing at that point as well?
Well, everybody wants to do their own thing. You know, you play under, you hear this is the perfect, you know, everybody says, the old saying is you learn different things from different managers and different coaches, and you want to put your own stamp of approval on it yourself. And you know, everybody likes being their own man, Gary, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And I got a phone call from Crumlin Star, and Sean Brown, the previous manager, had sort of way, you know, his young Sean, was getting into the Cliftonville 15s and 16s and pushing for the reserve team, and Sean thought he would like to give his time to a bit of his, to tell his son, looking, you know, going and bringing the train and things like that, you know, because Gary, as you know yourself, like, it's so demanding. You know, the amateur league's not about $5 and 20 pence anymore. This league can compete with the best of them. You know, and it's getting better all the time. And sometimes, you know, I take the hump, you know, they're talking about sometimes, you know, what way, obviously the intermediate teams, you know, and we are the intermediate teams too, but they're talking about the first division championship and the second division championship. But the majority of the teams in the intermediate league, you know, we play in the Premiership of the amateur league. So obviously I don't see an awful lot of the 1As, the 1Bs, the 1Cs, but I know for a fact there is very, very good players, and it's a good league, and it's a good, healthy league, so it is. But this year I thought we were sort of way, as you know, but we're left on our own. You know, the way the intermediate teams, and here, back in the hill, they're treating them with the Irish Cup and things like that. You know, we're not supposed to here. We'll train for 2 weeks here, and we'll just go and be there or nine. Unfortunately, that wouldn't be nice. That's all. You know, we meet teams. We've got into the Irish Cup 4th, 5th, 6th rounds over the last 5 or 6, 7, 8, 10 years on a regular basis. But we'll play them in February, Gary, here, after we'll have 30 or 35 games. You know, one off we can compete with them, but not the way they're. And I thought the amateur league sort of, not the amateur league directly, I thought the amateur league teams was sort of way, it's an amateur league team and that's the way it is, but I think it's a hell of a lot better than what it is. And I don't like the way that we're getting treated, you know.
Yeah, there was, I think there was just the forcing of playing the Irish Cup became disrespectful to intermediate clubs in general, so it has.
Oh, unreal, Gary. You know, it's a stupid old saying, the 20 pints and the fat bellies. That's all going away. There's good coaches in the amateur league. These lads are all doing their A, their B's and their pro licenses. There's good footballers in the amateur leagues. And sometimes I get guys phoning me up, well, what do you think? What do you think of him? What do you think? Listen, lads, hold on here. There's plenty of talent about. There's plenty of good kids about. All they need is a break, Gary.
Yeah.
All they needs a break. And here, this is top managers phoning you and saying, well, what do you think? Is he worth a chance? Does he take a chance? Listen, lads, these are the big clubs. Go and send somebody out to scout them.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Like you get a striker who scores 20, 30 goals in Amateur League Premier Division, and a big club should automatically be looking at them. So it shouldn't have to be a case of
But sure, there's Danny McKay right away. You know, they're
exactly.
phoning you up. They're phoning you up. He's going here. He's going 50s and 60s.
No.
Yeah. And it took them about 3 years for the penny to drop.
Yeah.
Unreal, so it is.
But then they would take players from maybe the second division. What is it? The Premier Intermediate League now, as it's called. And they're taking players from there, but quite often the amateur league teams, especially the Premier Division teams, when they meet them in the cups, which I know you've been successful in, they're turning these teams over on a regular basis.
The majority of the teams in the amateur league, intermediate league, now Gary, I can't really talk, and I'm not talking because we're in the top, the intermediate league. I know there's talent about the place, you know, and people have knocked me over the last 2 or 3 years because I took the Rose Bowl team. Gary, I had no time to look around anywhere. They came in with Alan Fraser packed the job in, and they came in to me and they says, you've 19 days to get a team, you know. So I just went around the players I knew. And I know there's a lot of guys, the likes of yourselves here. I'd love to win around and give a couple of younger kids a chance that plays in 2A, 2B, because I played in 2A and 2B and 2C with Eddie and Aidan Crumlin Star. Because we're like you, these were our biggest rivals for a lot of years. Yeah, because we hadn't had a ground, we couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what? And here at the present minute, it's still the same. You know, I know you're down that road. We've eventually got there because you know only the COVID. You know, our ground's going to be sorted for next season. Well, the next season after that. But I know there's a lot of good talent and there's a lot of good kids in the amateur league. I just didn't like the way there's guys. You know, not like myself, I'm a wee bit older. Young lads going out and doing their budget and coaching these teams better now.
Yeah.
And we're better. I know for a fact we're better in Championship 2 and some Championship 1 teams. And I'm not talking about Crumlin Star. I'm talking about the majority of teams in the Intermediate League and the Amateur League, you know. And sometimes I get annoyed by that. They're only an Amateur League team. I don't treat Crumlin Star as an Amateur League team. You know, Crumlin Star is a Championship team in my eyes.
Yeah. Just doesn't have facilities.
Just haven't got the facilities at the present minute. You know, Gary, they're getting there. Yeah. They're getting it. Let's talk a long time. Very similar to yourselves, you know.
Yeah. When you went into Crumlin Star, obviously you went in and the club had success. They'd moved up the whole way through the amateur leagues and then got themselves to the Premier Division, won trophies, competed. When you went in, did you find that the players were hungry for more, or did you feel you had to make any changes to mentality or maybe playing style when you went in?
The Crumlin Star's achieved over the last 15, 20, 25 years, Gary's been unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, Sean Brown, Eamon Hawkins, Charlie McLean, they've all done fantastic jobs. We started off at 2A. We ended up at Nomads, gone down to the Cliff to play down at Lawn because they keep our Premiership status. And it was unreal what they've done. They've come up right through 2A the whole way up to win the leagues. And then it just, as I said previously, Sean thought he would, you know, I haven't really spoke to him about it, but I knew that as young lad wanted to kick on and playing and things like that. And he just thought it maybe a new face. Sean's on the committee, went on to the committee. So, you know, things like that. Yeah. I knew, Gary, when I got the phone call and I went to speak to the committee, that there's a hell of a good side here. And if I could bring my wee stamp of approval, authority onto it, of what I've learned as a player and as a coach under certain people, I knew this crowd could go to another level again. You know, and I added 1 or 2 in. But the biggest thing about Crumlin Star, Gary, at the present minute is, you know, they're all in it together. You know, and you can't take that away from them, you know.
When you have players coming in, do you feel then that because you have such a bond, it's very easy for them to integrate, or is there certain type of players you look for if you're bringing players in to try and improve a squad at any stage? Well,
Gary, first and foremost, I knew this here. The Star wasn't too far off it when I got the job. It's finished. I think they ended up runners up or third. They were in the Premiership twice, and they were second or third in the Premiership the year I got the job. And Here's me, there's a hell of a good, the nucleus of a good squad there. If I can add one or two to it, and if I can hear, they always train it. You know, you always get your bluffers. You know that anyway. But here, I try my best. And it took me a wee while to learn. Here, you know, it's easy to get in and say, by the way, if you don't go to train tomorrow night, here you find 100 quid at Glentoran or Cliftonville and things like that. You can't do that now, actually. And I had to stay away. And I was going like that for about here. And even the present minute, still gets at me. But I knew that Sean had a hell of a good squad there. He's me, if I can get them, I'll get them here. But the way it ended up, Gary, I never thought it would end up the way it has ended up, to be honest. You know, here, it's, you know, to be honest, I could never dream about this. Do you know what's happened over the last few years?
Yeah, the success you've had has been, well, unprecedented, really. It hasn't been, well, there's been, I always feel that with the amateur league, with my lifetime anyway, there's been basically eras of clubs. There was a Killyleigh era, there was a Newington era, now we're in the Crumlin Star era, which is, it's not just about winning the Premier Division, you became a generational team. And the success you've had in winning the Intermediate Cup as well is, for any amateur league team, such an achievement. Yeah. What was that like, winning the Intermediate Cup?
Football career, probably the best day of my life. You know, standing over at Windsor, and I just stood back and let all the kids, and my son, obviously, my youngest son does all the coaching, so he does him in Big Burn, and I just stood aside, and here's me, this is unreal. You know, you're playing at Windsor Park here, we're playing a team above us. It's nearly to about 30 minutes to go, and Mr. Pridgeon comes on and he scores a winner. You know, it was unreal, and I couldn't really get, you know, it took me a lot of days to sort of sink in, Gary, because it meant an awful lot to me. So it did, because you know, it was my own district sort of thing, and it meant everything to them, and that was the greatest achievement. You know, it was just unreal, and I couldn't really think about it because it was away the next day. So it was, because it was away with the Rose Bowl team the next morning, and I had to keep half their team off a drink because we were getting a boat at 10 o'clock the next morning over to Scotland. So we were, and I couldn't really enjoy it until I got home the following on the Sunday. You know, but here, that was the biggest achievement in my football career. You know, it meant so much to my family. My daughter does the website, my son does all the coaching, I do all the slaver, and the wife cleans the kit. And here, the committee is all my friends and guys I've grew up with, and it meant so much to them. But at the end of the day, Gary, it's down to the players. The players have been superb for me the last 3 years, and they've bought into what I've tried to give them. You know, they've been fantastic. All right, we'll have our fun. It's everything that goes in the garden. Yeah. You know, on a Saturday, there's one thing I know, they're going to go out and give 100% for Jerry, you know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not just a case of a community thing for you because of where you're from. It's also your family involvement, and the players, their own families are probably heavily involved in the club as well. So it means a lot more to some clubs when you win trophies like that, and Crumlin Star is one of those clubs.
You know, it's a wee small area, as you know, in North Belfast here. Yeah. And everybody knows everybody, and everybody's cousin and all this here. You know, the committee they've been superb the last lot of years. They're all friends I grew up with and played a lot of football. There's a lot of footballers on the committee at the present minute, and they've been fantastic to me. And it meant so much. It was unreal. It was unreal that night, so it was. You know.
From there, then that was obviously the best moment you've had in your career. How do you top that? Where do you go from there? Then where have you went from there? Because I read a quote recently. It was actually quite good. It said that you strive to get to the top of a mountain, but when you get to the top of a mountain, the air's thinner and there's less space to move. So the inevitable is you come back down. Or how do you keep the players motivated and keep yourself motivated to keep striving forward?
Just one of them silly outfields in life here with football. You know, I was born and bred. My father played for Northern Ireland. He played across the water, you know, and it was just born into me. And anything I have, I just say to them, I try to give them what I have in here out to them. And they've paid me back in spades, so they have the kids over the last 3 or 4 years. And maybe I'm going to say something maybe wrong here, the COVID thing, you know, one or two in sort of way, you know, and I think this will be with a lot of teams this year, with one or two of the older ones. You know, I've tried to, you know, I've watched teams over the last couple of years. The Super Mac team, you know, here, what a team they have been over the last few years at our level, you know,
Yeah,
and maybe, you know, we all are sort of we did not a lot of a couple of young ones at the time, you know, all the boys came to sort of way the same age right through, you know, and it was hard, but I tried the odd, you know, 3 or 4 younger ones to keep the continuation going, but on the COVID thing, side of it, you know, the likes of McCarvey, Bricky, the likes of Pridgeon, who, you know, the 34, the 35-year-olds, no chance of him retiring after this.
yeah,
He says, we want more of it. And within ourselves, Gary, we won a Steel Cup, so we do. We've been so close to the Steel Cups. You know, I won it as a player. I could beat looking after Cliftonville reserves, and we've been beaten 2 semi-finals, and that hurt big time. You know, Sirocco Works beat us in penalties, and we were big favourites that night. The year before, we played Olympic Swiss, we were 2-0 up against them, and they came back and beat us 3-2. And that was a wee bit of my naivety, or else stupidness. You know, we should have just managed the game instead of just having a crack at them. And the Blues sort of way came out and they won the game.
yeah,
But it took me a long time getting over the Steel Cup. So I won the Intermediate Cup, I won a couple of borders, I won the leagues. I won the Steel Cup for Crumlin Star. And
yeah,
it's slightly easier, Gary, now to win now because the championship won teams, isn't it? You know?
yeah.
You know, it's just not as hard, you know, but as I say, it's luck and a draw. But going back to the COVID thing, the boys are on the phone, you know, tomorrow, the boys in the hill up in Stormont are sort of way. We're hoping we'll get a wee gap somewhere. You know, Gary, the last breakdown, I wasn't training them at all. You know, the younger ones we call the virgins, if you're allowed to put it out, and the older ones is called the pensioners, and they play on a Saturday morning, they kick the pan at each other, so they do, and that's a nice way, but it's so competitive.
Yeah,
I've went round sort of way the older ones. I've 3 or 4 of the older ones, and like Joe McNeil, they're only 31s and things like
yeah,
that. You know, fittest man on earth. But what I'm saying is, they want to play this year. They want to play. You know, so hopefully we can get a bit of good news over the next couple of days, where we're back doing something at least. You know, to get ready for your tournament coming up.
yeah. I suppose it's you've had a lot of success, won a lot of trophies, but it's funny that you still think so much about getting so close to winning the Stadium Suns Cup. Even getting the 2 semi-finals is impressive for an amateur league club, even with the championship one team's not being there. But that's something to drive you forward then as well. And I suppose, and like you said, it hurt you a lot to get over it, but it's
Yeah.
now with your now a big game, but you have to win other trophies along the way. You still have to continue being a Premier Division champions, and you have to have a lot of pressure there, a lot of success to have.
Well, as I say, you know, I do all the argy bargy, Gary. I do all the. Yeah, I'm the slobber. I mouth and I do this and do that and do that. The son and Big Burn and John Mullen do all the coaching. So they, you know, excuse me, the boys bring the younger part of it in. They're very good coaches. And as I say, I bring Eddie Patterson every 6 or 7 weeks just for a change of voice and
Yeah,
something different. We do things like get on shape and things like. But I went round the boys once the amateur league, Terry Pittman called the amateur league sort of a scrub for the year. I went round all the boys and I said to them, like, we're going to have another crack at this. And here, everybody's in.
yeah, yeah. Something to look forward to. I think,
Oh,
like
yeah.
you said, it's older players. So I actually thought COVID may have retired some older players, but um, talking to people, the fact that they don't have a choice about football and they can't
Yeah.
play, like it's gone. It's almost like people have retired. People say when you retire, and at that stage, that's when you decide. That's when you decide, I wish I could play football again, or I wish I had done this or done that. People being forced to stop playing football is actually giving them
Yeah.
a lot more hunger.
I just say to the guys, Gary, look, boys, you're a long time retired. You
Yeah,
know, here. you do this for fun. Yes, a lot of them could have played at a hell of a higher level, Gary, but various things, they didn't, various different teams on about certain players over the last 2 or 3 years. What about this? What about that? And I would never stop any shade from going to play at a higher level, none whatsoever. And majority of the boys, no way, we're not going. I'm happy with what I'm doing. We're happy with what we're doing, and long may it continue.
Yeah. What about your rivals? I know East Belfast the last couple of years, they're getting closer. They are testing and they're getting closer. And I suppose that pushes you on as well. And there's a lot. Ballinhinch Olympic were very strong last year, and you've still a really strong Premier Division in general. There, you have a lot of teams which have won the Premier Division and still have a nucleus of squad, like you spoke about the Mac earlier. And you have young sides. Crumlin United, I think, are a good side this year, and that pushes you on as well. I suppose the fact your competition's always hot in your heels.
Over the last couple of years, the Mac showed away dwindled after Kevin left and Bruce came in. The Mac's going to be competitive again.
Yeah.
East Belfast is competitive. Ballinhinch are competitive. And there's one I've been watching over the last season or so. It's Jackie Kerr's crowd down at Arch Rangers.
Yeah.
They're a very good side. They're a very good footballing side. Jackie's got, obviously, the lad for sake had them in the win the leagues a couple of times before I came in. At the Star, they had won the Premiership and a couple of Border Cups. League for sake, I think it was, and Jackie's come in, and of what I've seen of them in 2 or 3 times, Jackie Kerr's good players at Arch Rangers.
Yeah.
The East is going to be strong as usual. The Mac's going to get stronger. Bruce got, he's starting to get players together, so he is. Rough Raylan, I see the managers away during the week. I don't know what the story is down there, but they have been threatened over the last couple of years to sort away. But it's a healthy league, so it is. And there's a lot of good saves in it, so it is.
Yeah.
And it's hard sustaining this all the time, so it is, Gary. But here, if there's a hunger in me, I'll try and drive it into the kids, here. And to be honest, here, they take it on board. They're great bunch of lads, and I personally think myself, it's there for another year or two with this crowd. I know I wouldn't have stayed about, but this crowd can definitely win things this year again, hopefully if we get up and running.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I want to go on to a couple of questions for you, just not the Twitter or Facebook ones yet, but we'll leave them to the end. Just about, we spoke about your best moment in football when we know that was the cup final with Crumlin Star, and I asked you earlier about your best moment in your playing career. I do want to ask you about 2 questions, kind of double barrel questions. So the best player you played with, and also the best player you've coached, because you've had a good career in both. So best player you've played with, or you can name a few names, to be honest, because it's always catches people off guard.
I would have to name a few names here. If I don't say any Crumlin Star player, they'll fall out. They'll say for Tull up at Crumlin United. Football. I'm going to try and each way myself here, Guy. As a growing up, I grew up with a fella called Eamon Hawkins, who managed Crumlin Star. What a footballer. Unreal. Fantastic. Had a great Irish League career. Then when I got to my Irish League career as playing, down at Derry, there was a Scots lad called Stuart Gould, played for Hearts, played centre half. What a player. What a player. Just made it look so simple. Played a few games with Liam Coyle, but he wasn't there. Unfortunately, he wasn't there. If he'd have been there, I wouldn't have been there, Gary, Played with him a couple of Legends games for Derry City. This guy, I wish I had played with him. He's superb. He's the most talented quality player I've seen in the Irish League in my time, Gary. Yeah. That's the 56, 57 era, me playing at that age group. As I got a wee bit older and I coached guys, I had a lot of good players at that time. Ronan Skinnell, top quality. Yeah. Chris Skinnell, top quality. And smashing fellows too. Conor Downey, unreal. Couldn't play him. Boyster, didn't get the privilege to coach Joe. I know Joe from Crumlin Star,
Yeah.
Joe's the goal. That's the way it is, Amateur league players never on to Gary Abba. I'll kind of stick that in to keep myself.
Yes.
McNeil will be on them right away. He's watching this probably later on. McNeil, Pridgen, Barry McCurvey. I couldn't read here. I'm going to each way myself here, Gary, and say here, the majority here, not the majority, all of Crumlin Star over the last 3 or 4 years. And outside of my team, it would be Ryan Newbury at Arch Rangers. What a left. Whereas Bricky has a left peg and Newbury has a left peg. Unreal.
Yeah.
Great player. A great player. And as I say, Gary, there's probably a hell of a lot more, quality players. I know there is quality players in the amateur league at the present minute. I'm not going to say Mr. Padwell there.
Keep him out of it. His ego's big enough.
It's big enough.
What about the toughest players you played against, or toughest teams you've coached against as well? So once again, two questions there. So toughest players you came up against your playing career, and toughest teams.
I remember I was 18 years of age, Gary, about 19. Sorry. And I played for Drogheda twice in my career. After Derry, and when I was young, because my father played for Drogheda, and Marty Quinn was the manager, and Mousy Brady was down giving him a hand, Arthur.
Right. Yeah.
And they brought me down, no go Murray, all that crowd there, we were down Mickey Tully. And I played against Finn Harps one day. I was a big, gangly, 6'2" guy playing centre forward. Fancied myself a wee bit. First ball, boom, head back in the back of my head. Well, under the league Aaron, son, here's me. Looked around. A fella called Tony Hutton, Peter Hutton's uncle, Peter Hutton, that played for Cliftonville. And I played, I played with him at Derry, Peter, his uncle. He was one hell of a tough boy. And he kicked me up and down United Park, so he did, Gary. This isn't for me. These are normal. See, boys, I thought I was here. And he got me at the end of the match, and he lifted me up and he says, "Son, welcome to the League of Iron. You're Danny Trainor's son. You do me." And he brought me in. There's a bar directly next door till United Park at Drogheda store is, and he bought me a pint. Gary, he kicked the pound out of me the whole day and just brought me in, got me a pint. I was only a child. Yeah. As a coach, players. As a coach, toughest boys. People may think I'm stupid here because you're looking at midfielders or defenders and things like big Winky Murphy, a big tough boy feeling about. But Spike Ferguson was the cleverest doing of them all. So he was guy, and I played Spike and I coached against Spike here, and I played him. He'd stick an elbow in you, but he was so clever. So here, and what a quality footballer.
Yeah.
And it was probably a hell of a lot more, but it's, at the present moment, it's just not my name,
Yeah, Spike Ferguson's goal record just goes to show, really, so it does.
How good he was. He's in front of you, and all of a sudden, the ball's in the back of the net, and he's away here, and he's laughing at you. But here, quality, that's what it's about, at the highest level. Unreal.
The levels. I want to go on to a couple of the questions I got on Facebook and Twitter today. Well, now Hawkins has asked, why do you think so many people hate Crumlin Star?
Is it probably because we win trophies on a regular basis and people get a little bit of jealousy about it?
That's what he was looking for. I got the answer he wanted.
Is that not like the Linfield? Is that not like the Linfield? Everybody dislikes Linfield because they win trophies on a regular basis. Yeah. I just think teams just dislike you. And I'm being honest here. We have came about over the last 3 or 4 years and practically win everything, and people just, and now all of a sudden they're starting to knock us. See, the more they knock us, the more we get our humps up here, and we're going to go win more trophies, Gary, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. In fact, there's no motivation. There's a double-headed question here, or double question, which I think actually probably relates to the same saying. You must have a regular saying. Miskey asked me about the where does the white round thing go, and Fra McCaffrey asked, "What's the big square thing?" Is this one of your regular sayings? Is it?
Sometimes I personally think the coaches complicate football.
Yeah.
And maybe what everybody thinks is if you keep the weight thing out of the weight square thing, and you put the round thing till the opposing team's goal, you win football matches.
Yeah.
See what happens in between? I don't give a damn.
That's it.
So that's an old saying with this guy. Unfortunately, Mark didn't score too many goals. He didn't put the round thing in the square thing over the Glens too many times. Now for a bit of banter.
Pidgey asked about what's your the best away pitches you've played at in terms of your best memories.
I get myself into trouble here. He knows I'm going to get myself in. The best away pitch, it has to be. People that like this, and will probably get hammered later on, would be away to East Belfast, because we happened to win the league 2 years in a row over to the East. Our biggest rivals here. We went over and won the league twice. I like going to Rathfriend. Probably, Gary, it's pitches where you go and you do well, and okay. And Paul's just being smart there, and here the boys over in the East and that like that, and I'd probably get their humps up for next season. So but here, yes, I enjoy going over to the East. So I do. It's a good battle. It's a good battle between two quality teams, to be honest, and we do very, very well over there.
The biggest rivals in the division now as well at the moment, in terms of trying to compete for it.
At the present, and Gary, before I go here, Toll was on to me the day here. Crumlin United are improving too. You have to get that in. Get that here, because he shared it if I don't say anything.
It's funny, actually, you mentioned earlier, I should have actually touched on it when you said about Jackie Kerr's team improving. He said I spoke to him recently, and he said that he felt that he played really well against us last year, and that there's the motivation to kick on because you're the precedent, really.
Yeah.
You are, so.
Gary, I thought I was pretty impressed with him last year. Here, Jackie's got them well coached, and it's like everybody, Gary, when you're winning trophies and teams here, there are cup finals every week in league, so it is to play against our team, so it is, and it's hard breaking down teams. We've got a pitch up there. It's just monstrous. So it is. The cricket was sure until we get our new ground sorted. It's a massive facility. So it is, and that's the only thing. Teams are putting a lot of men behind the ball. It's very, very hard to try and break them down, but that's the way it is. And here, as long as that continued, then we're doing well.
Yeah. Kev Trainor asked about. You went round and round about 3 times on the way to a match that you wanted to.
Paul Byrne, the coach, Kev Trainor, and Miguel, and we're going down to Abbey Villa in the Border Cup or one of the cups one year, and I wasn't sort of familiarised with where Abbey Villa was. So Mr. Byrne, being Mr. Byrne, he's the comedian in there. As a player, as a coach, he's the comedian in the dressing room, so he is. So I'm following the whole way down. Yes, big man, and they're on that. Yes, right. You go to Bangor, you go to the right. So they go round and round about once. Me right far enough. And I'm thinking about everything else. So I am, Gary, about what team selection, what way is he going to get him trapped, and what way is he. So I'm following them round the roundabout. And I ended up Miguel shouting at them, and they're laughing their legs off. And I just went round and roundabout, the same roundabout 3 times following them. And then the branch off the left head towards Abbey Villa. So here, see that day, I can't really say on your podcast what was said when we get into the changing. but here, that went on for about 3 years a day. I went round the roundabout of Bangor. And so
a couple of ones that Martin Mooney asked about Sammy Watson. You touched on him earlier. Would he be the biggest influence in your career?
I wouldn't say Sammy was the biggest influence in my career, but he got me a move to Derry City, to be honest. Roy Coyle and Sammy were pretty good friends at the time, and Sammy was giving Roy Coyle a bit of a hand, when Roy got the dairy job, and my name came up, and so Sammy sort of way got me out and got me fit, and 3 weeks up and down the Queen's Hills and things like that. Yeah, here, I'm not saying he was a big, but he helped me on the pathway, you know, for getting playing for a couple of top clubs, you know.
Yeah, a couple of questions here, which just get to dig into a couple of players. A couple of people have asked how do you stick Paul Byrne and how do you stick Burnsy, and do you know Mark Mooney?
Do I know Mark Mooney? Oh,
Yeah.
no. I know these boys very well. As in Paul Byrne, brilliant.
Yeah.
Just fantastic here. I came in and, you know, Paul sort of way, he was on the committee, he's Mr. Crumlin, he was giving people a hand and things like that. And he interviewed me, and Paul thought he wasn't going to play that year I took over here, but he's been fantastic for 3 years. And then he packed it in last year. Paul got a job as a headmaster in Hightown School, so he did.
Right.
And the time is sort of an awful lot of time. But here, Gary, if there's a joker in the changing room, he's the best guy in the world. Here, he keeps them all knit together, and he's the go-between with him and my son. But here, what a fantastic guy! So he was, you know, he's a
great player as well. So he was such a servant to Crumlin Star.
Here, and Gary tells us too every Saturday night in WhatsApp. So he was a great player, and many Porter Cups he's winning, and many leagues he's winning. Fantastic fella, that's who he is.
Chew, that's everything, mate. Thank you very much for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. You coming on,
Gary. Just before I go here, I don't like leaving people out. I would like to, if you can put it on the end of it, the committee. You know, this doesn't happen. You know, this is everybody in it together. You know, the players do it for me, and the committee do. You know, whatever I want, the committee. They've been fantastic to me. You know, Noel Hamill, Liam McNeil, you know, Tommy Breslin, Tom McWilliams, you know, Tommy Braniff, you know, they've been fantastic to me over the last couple of years. Sort of way, Eamon Hawkins and Eddie Copeland, things like that. They've been, you know, if we want gear, they get gear. We want, you know, gear for training, we get gear that, you know, they've been superb from it. And I would like to thank them. And, you know, I'm not getting serious or anything like that, but here, it's just a whole big team all together. We're all friends, and it's clicked over the last 3 or 4 years. And hopefully it continues on.
Yeah, sometimes the people behind the scenes get forgotten about, so
it's
nice that you've
Gary, that's what makes Crumlin Star tick. So it is the guys, you know, from my wife, from my daughter, from my son here, and all my friends. And if I forgot anybody to say, I totally apologize, because everybody's in this together, and that's where we've had the success over the last couple of years, and hopefully it continues on over the next few years. At least anyway, you know.
Yeah. Chew, best of luck. I hope everything goes well for you next year, mate. And
but sure, I'll be speaking to you the next couple of weeks.
You will be. Yes.
Yeah,
I'll definitely get up to a couple of your games during the.
Certainly, here. I'm gonna have a cup of tea together.
That's it.
Okay, mate.
Thanks very much. The podcast is sponsored by Learners Trust Driving School and Jumbo Park Racecourse. Thanks very much for listening or watching, folks, and we'll see you again soon.